Hi everyone and welcome to Bad Work Stories Made Good. My name is Karina Rubeck and together with my co-host Emma Matthews, we'll be doing exactly that. In each episode, we're going to take a bad work story from our client work, the media, or even your own bad work story and get some good out of it. So, without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome back. Hi, Karina. How are you going?
Hi, Em. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm really good. So, what have we got on the agenda? What's been piquing your interest?
Piquing my
this week?
interest. Well, as you know, I love a good story out of popular media. And this week, what caught my attention was a football story.
Oh,
Before
surprise!
anyone out there goes, oh no, bloody football. No, bear with me. Bear with me. There is relevance to the work. Right. So this was so for anyone who's like into the football, or you like to watch behind the scenes documentaries on great coaches and great leadership within the sporting environment, you may have probably come across the All or Nothing series, which in Europe is available on Amazon Prime. Have you don't have that down in New Zealand?
I haven't seen it myself. I don't subscribe, but
but I'll tell you the story piece. So if it does pique your interest, you'll love it. The actual series does the All Blacks. It's done all the great sporting teams all around the world. And last month, about 2 weeks ago, they launched the behind the scenes look at the Arsenal Football Club. And what's interesting about this, this caught my eye as I was looking at it, is apart from their head coach, Michael Arteta, who is an extremely human-centered leader, was the story of firing his star player. Now, football clubs live and die on their results, right? I mean, the whole thing is to get to the top four. It's Champions League, win the Premier League. This is where the money, the glory, the reputation, and, high performers, as these footballers are, that's where they want to play, right? That's where the big clubs play. That's where they have the best competition. And so en route to this particular club it was in the media, it was going like, oh, there's rumors, that the coach is having an issue with the star player. And the star player, this is a key striker, right? So this is the person who's giving you the goals, one of the key positions, right? So a really high value position within the team. Now, the club is very, very strong on its values, and its values are respect, commitment, and what was the other one? Respect, commitment, and passion. Yes,
passion.
Passion, right? So this key striker was also the club captain, right? So again, we have another layer of responsibility and kind of mana, if you like, right? So, but this particular individual decided he was kind of above all of this and took it upon himself to arrive late for training. And this was really, contrary to the agreed behaviours of what the first team had set up, along with the coaching staff. And so this became a multiple incident situation, which eventually led to the captain being stripped of his captaincy. And then a few months later, his contract was terminated, and quote unquote by mutual agreement, and he left and went to another European club. And just to put this in perspective, this was a top player, right? This player had scored, into your stats, 68 goals over 4 years for the club, and had actually won the Golden Boot alongside Liverpool greats like Salah and Mane. So the player we're talking about is Aubameyang. And so I was really interested in this piece and about the courage of, he's the youngest coach in the Premier League, around really, really putting the priority to the culture in the club, and that no one was a special one, and particularly in the role of captaincy. And I know from, like our multiple experiences in work, Emma, that this is an area that like a lot of execs, a lot of leaders struggle with, around this person has such high value to the team, what happens if I let them go? And, and then, despite the conversation around, what you could put in quotes like collateral damage, to coin quite a violent phrase around that. And it is, and I think it's interesting because it is. I mean, I think it is quite violent. The collateral damage of the ripple effect of that behaviour, and how it is so toxic in cultures. And I think that brings us to how this is a bad work story.
Totally. Well, it's the double standards, right? It's like, if you're a high performer, a superstar in your organization, then you can basically get away with anything. Well, that's what kind of this attitude is. And well, I bring it in. I'm making it happen. I'm scoring goals. So, I'll turn up when I want.
Yeah, we could put goals in inverted commas, because whatever your thing is, for your work environment, as you're listening to this, is that that's the thing, right? It's like whatever your goals are, like that's the thing.
Yeah, and we know these. I mean, I've worked with these people. This behaviour, this attitude that's come in, and basically it is. You talk about the ripple effects. It's basically watch out. It's my way or the highway. I'm in, and I'm, and in terms of how the effect it has on team members around you, and basically, kind of like this one person, and it's toxic. It does create toxic environments for working, and if it's allowed to go on, then you see more than quiet quitting. You see people departing. You see the exit stage left. It's like, wow, I don't want to. If that's what this culture and this organisation's about, just the rise of the superstar, and only one person can count, then it drops team, right? The collaboration and the level of team way out. So it definitely is a bad work story if you've got allow it to go on. Such bravery for, as you say, for the coach and for a leader to step into that and say, one would expect that he'd been given many conversations and many, sort of discussions about, well, this is not okay. So basically, how can you turn this around? Turning up on time doesn't seem very hard, really, when you think about what they've got to do in their lives. Or turning up for training and being part of the team is pretty key.
Yeah, pretty key. Yeah. And for anyone who is interested in this, of course, Mikel Arteta was the protege, if you like, and the assistant to Pep Guardiola, who, of course, for many people, myself included, I think is one of the greatest coaches, in this era. I wasn't kind of part of the Alex Ferguson kind of, watching football era, but in this more modern football era, if we can call it that, if you're interested in this, get a hold of the book called The Barcelona Way, which really details his coaching philosophy. And, Pep kind of worked with three key things. One is that players had to be humble, right? So ego was left at the door. You had to remember who you played for and how you came through, and every single week you're playing for 60, 80,000 passionate stakeholders, who, pay their hard-earned cash to come and watch the greatest game for those fans, right? Whatever your fan is. And the second one was excellence, standards, practice. You train like you are in the Champions League final. And the last one was, the club above everything. There's just no room for, anything to do with, me first. So that total alignment to the team is so important. And as you said, the courage. And, when you've got fans and, boards of directors, as all, leaders and, people listening to this, it's not in a vacuum, right? It's you have all these external pressures on you.
Absolutely.
And then ultimately it's like, what do you do? And, from talking with execs and leaders who have been through this process, and I, I can remember one running into her several years later and saying to him, having had some time to reflect, on, this journey we went through, in terms of transforming an organizational culture. And I said, was there anything that sticks out that you would have done differently? And he immediately said, I would have made those decisions quicker. That tolerating unaligned behavior, unaligned, connection to the values was toxic, and that he had waited too long to take action. And in that time, there was damage.
Yeah.
To good people, to people whose hearts have been engaged. And then that ripple effect, and you go, what the fuck? As you said, quite quitting, like, fuck, if that's what goes on here, then what the frig am I doing? Trying to, do my best and, put in discretionary effort and look out for opportunities. And when that behavior, whatever that behavior is being rewarded, tolerated, passed, not addressed.
Accepted. Yeah,
accepted,
it becomes,
And
if one can get away with it, why don't all of us get away with it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people are not turning up at all for training or anything. It's like, you can see it all falling apart quite quickly. So how do we make this good? So in terms of make good on this, so we've got, key values, right? Knowing your values. And I think having values as a team is a great way of bringing everyone together in alignment. So get clear on what the values are that you want to stand for and live by as a team. That's certainly one thing I think can help make good. And then I think for, what you're saying in terms of definitely acting quickly, making sure the behaviors are clear. And if there is, a step away from that, just, discuss, align, come back to, is that helping us live our values or going against it?
Yeah, And I think, it's the, how do we, and I think for a lot of leaders, it's like, oh my God, do I have to have that really tough conversation and then it's all over? Or is this kind of like a feedback, review kind of thing?
Yeah.
And I think, you've got to trust yourself. There's obviously HR policy within whatever country you're working in that you have to be aware of as well. And, and I think, it's the, where I would go first up is the compassionate piece. It's like, it's about clarity. If this is happening, I would be saying to myself as a leader, like, what have I not been clear about?
Yeah.
How have I actually been part of allowing this to happen, right? Maybe it's the clarity of my instructions or not having, as you said, Emma, not having having the clarity of those team behaviors and talking about things like, what happens under pressure? Where are those little release valves and what happens when we get stressed? Or, how do we help each other manage our emotions and our behaviors and choose constructive ways to act out, if you like. Because a lot of the time, like, this guy, it's like some form of acting out, maybe his purpose or direction had changed. There's an untethering, if you like, from the core purpose and value. So, how do we notice those things are happening?
Yeah.
How do we care enough about each other to bring them back and really have those meaningful, honest conversations?
Exactly. And I mean, I think, that under stress is really important because clearly we've been under a lot of stress. And if you think that in your team you've got someone that's getting special treatment, something over and above another, then, that's not going to help you, have each other's back, is it? Because you're like, okay, well, that person's more important than the rest of us. So, when something happens where that person has a bad day or, an issue that they're dealing with, what happens? People just don't want to step in and help. They're like, oh, well, too bad. So, you haven't got your team cohesion and you're not going to be strong and, united. So,
yeah, totally. And I just want to echo and kind of put a kind of an underline around, lots of teams will have the value of care in them, like we support each other or we care about each other. Well, this is not only on the leader, This is team responsibility. Like, so if you notice that your teammate is a little bit late turning up for meetings or even on Zoom, or doesn't respond to kind of, things that maybe they used to.
Yeah.
That's that care, right? Just say, hey, what's going on? If you're in the office together on one of your hybrid days, taking a coffee, going for a walk together, having the courage to go below the surface, the superficial, and just say, hey, this is what I'm noticing. Are you okay? Because this is not normally you, So starting from that position, and then, you may be surprised about what you uncover. And as you said, we've been through some super stressful times. So, yeah.
Well, that's definitely, I think, a bad work story made good. Is there a completion you want to make about what happened to this player post the departure?
The funny thing is, right, this player then Aubameyang went to Barcelona, right, a huge club in Spain. That was in January this year. And last night, as we're recording this, last night he turned up as a new player for Chelsea. And so he's back, and he's been recycled back into the Premier League with at the time a boss who he'd worked with before and was familiar with his behaviour, but had a different perspective to it, right? But interesting enough, that boss got fired today. So here we are, the behaviours of
consequences
of the consequences of a high performance sport, right? So. So hopefully some of those, things have been useful for people listening, and
Perfect. Well, sounds great, and we'll catch you next time.
Will do. You too. Bye for now.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on Bad Work Stories Made Good. We hope you enjoyed the podcast and would listen again. If you have a story you want to share or any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know. See you next time.